Alright guys, welcome back to yet another Robocraft robot review. This time, I am piloting the Runner Smile by Zero Loki. So this is a sprinter bot, as you can plainly see. This is 908 CPU, if I remember that correctly. Lots of electroplates, some good back electroplate plating, the smallest sprinter leg, as well as some hover blades. Now, the first thing I would like to address is the actual use of hover blades. I know that I have a video up on my channel, probably one of the most popular, I think it's still the most popular, or one of, anyway. And it's saying that basically hovers help mech legs. But obviously that video was put out before the sprinter legs. And sprinter legs are not the same as mech legs. They definitely use a completely different system. So, hovers actually are a hindrance to sprinter legs rather than a help. So, it's best just to... Oh, I'm dead. Lovely. It's best just to go without them and sort of take the redundancy hit. Unfortunately, that's what you have to do. Otherwise, you will be going slower until you hit around overclock 10 with the small sprinter legs, which are these ones, and you won't be hitting your max speed until about, I think you have to be overclock 15 with the largest ones to actually get to the quote-unquote as advertised speed that these sprinter legs are. Now, so we're down a player. That's fun. So the other thing I would like to point out about this bot is it seems like the creator has tried to do a jack of all trades, and that's alright, I guess. It's handy in its own regard, but you know what they say about jack of all trades, master of none. So it's usually best, especially with the most recent update. I don't know if they're going to revert it or tweak it, but at the time of recording, the less weapons you have, it takes a drastic hit in its DPS. So when it comes to the lasers, the ones equipped, I believe, they require a nominal count of 5, if I'm not mistaken. And these have 4, so starting out, you're already under the nominal count. So that's a big downside. And the plasmas, you're actually under the nominal count by 2, so it should be at 4 to get the nominal fire rate. However, you only have 2 on here, and as you can see, it's... Let me just switch here. It's fairly slow, so that is me holding down the fire button. With only 2, it's not really the greatest. Now, the railgun, just having 1 is actually not too bad. It's basically just a burst damage and a long range sort of peeling off important parts, and then go back to your other weapons, give you a breather time, and sort of go back to the rail when you need it. Whereas if you have, say, 3 rails, for example, it's in that odd position where you don't really have a whole lot of breather time to think, so yeah, it kind of leaves you deciding whether or not to just stay with your rails or switch to another weapon, instead of having to leave scope and all that jazz. So, 1, like I said, not awful. It is usable in its own special, unique way, but always try and go with 5 if you want an actual rail bot. Obviously, this isn't really meant to be a rail bot, it's just there for extra burst damage. At least that's what it seems like to me, anyway. Now, the nanos on the back, I would say are pretty much useless on this bot. I mean, they're okay, they're handy, but they're not fantastic. You could opt for something better. At the very least, you could upsize them 1, which I would recommend if you really feel you need to have nanos on there. Well, we're doing decent with being down a player, so I'm kind of surprised, honestly. But, yeah, so these ones are the mid-ranged ones. So they don't use too much power, which is nice. But unfortunately, they don't really heal all that much compared to the burst ones, which, if you've got a low fire rate, you'd want that huge, quick burst of healing over top of the very slow ones, which they're not super slow, but I mean, with only 2, it's making them even slower. And don't downsize, trust me, don't downsize even further. You're fine as is. So other than that though, I'd say the frame, for the low CPU it is, I'd say it's pretty good. Unfortunately though, the sprinter legs, at least the small ones, are rather low on armor. A little too low for my taste, but that's just me. So the thrusters definitely do help for redundancy. They don't actually take away from any of the speed, unlike the hovers do. Let's see if I can't get the kill here. Come on. Alright. No. Yes, there we go. I got the kill. Hell yeah, that's how it's done. Even if you die, you gotta get a kill. Anyways. See if I can't get back into the action here. So, things I would recommend about this bot. Now, possibly take one of these electroplates off the front, or off the top rather, and move it to the front. And then get the rest of the electroplates and just sort of replace them for armor, make the core a bit more bulky, is what I would recommend. Until you get more CPU, then on top of the bulky core I was talking about, add more weapons, and more weapons of a certain type. So try not to mix and match too much. With the rail, you do have the capability to take out air units fairly well, and the lasers are also a well-rounded weapon, good for anything really. The plasma, however, is more so for ground, and you're not really going to be jumping a whole lot, so I don't know, it's up to you whether or not you want to keep the plasma. But nanos, yeah, I don't know, really, this frame could go in a lot of directions. It is fairly versatile, but, ooh, an epic, not too bad. But, it all depends on what the purpose you want. So I guess you could really switch it out for whatever purpose you need, really. So yeah, just add those improvements to the chassis, and you would definitely be a sort of a 5-star in your CPU bracket. Now, what I would like to quickly go over here is just go into edit mode real quick. Pull out the good old speedometer. Yeah, the speedometer. Gotta have one of those for testing. I would definitely recommend it. And head on into practice mode. So this is the speed with the hover. It's always good to do a speed test, by the way, for your bots. That goes with any bot, not just the sprinter. So, at overclock 1, we are only getting about 139 as the average, whereas if we bump ourselves up to overclock 8, which is the overclock for the team deathmatch, that will get us closer to what we're supposed to be going at, although slightly lower. So let me just see here. We go up one more, up one more. Okay, so it seems to be about overclock 9 is where you would get your actual speed that these sprinter legs, at least the small ones, are supposed to be going at. And obviously, once I remove the actual hover, once we get back into the garage here, you'll see that you actually move at that speed from the very start. So if we just quickly connect to the server, that would be very nice. Anytime, Robocraft. Insert elevator music here. No, I won't kill you with that. So we come under here, copy that, and go back into practice. Now, this is the only hover on the robot. so I don't need to go digging inside, which is nice. And as you can see, there we are. So that was basically the speed we were getting at overclock 9, but now we're getting it at overclock 1. And the nice thing I have noticed about this bot is the up thrusters on the back as well as the forward thrusters actually allow this to jump farther than it would without it. I tried it basically jumping... I can just do a test right now. Let me demonstrate that for you. So that's not holding up at all, so it jumps to about there, and holding up this time, and forward. Goes, well, normally it goes a bit farther, but it's a bit weird, a bit wonky, and these thrusters kind of have a mind of their own. I've also noticed that as well. So, I don't know. But yeah, overall, pretty decent bot. The only complaint is add a bit more armor, and in place of 2 of the electric plates on the top, and specialize your weapons. Don't have them so willy-nilly as they are. So with that, guys, I thank you so much for watching. I, of course, have been the Awesome Soul, and I will be seeing you next time. Take care.